Frack on, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Frack The Canon. This time, we're going to talk about comic books or movies or sci-fi, kind of sci-fi, but we're going to talk about a little bit cancel culture again, part two, part due for us 90s kids. So, Sarah, you were the one that brought this up. There's a specific topic you brought up that I want you to tell us why you wanted to talk about this.
Yeah, J.K. Rowling came out with some very awful comments about trans people. And of course, she wrote Harry Potter. And I guess I'm struggling with it a little bit because, if I have kids, do I let them read Harry Potter? I don't know how to be the counterbalance to her ideas. Obviously she has freedom of speech, but I feel like if people are saying things that are hurting a group of people for no reason that they just are themselves, and you're hating on them for something that has no basis to hate them, like she has such a large megaphone, so how do we counteract that? But also, can I still like Harry Potter? And I guess it's something that I've been struggling with, because the other part of it is, since she's still alive, if you buy Harry Potter, she gets money, she profits off things. So I don't know, what do you guys think?
I think it's an interesting dynamic, because this isn't something that we just see in this sort of that we just see here, you know what I mean? In the arts world, thinking about sometimes basketball players or football players, they'll be dealing with a case or something, you know what I mean? Look at Michael Vick, right? That crazy, horrible thing that he was doing.
Who months ago was throwing for touchdowns as the star quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, now has thrown himself before the mercy of a federal court, admitting in court papers to dogfighting.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But at the same time, he was the star player of that team, too. You know what I mean? And I think back, and Kobe just passed, but I think back to several times when he's fighting cases, and he was out on the basketball court, and just thinking about this idea, how much does what they do well, how much does that allow us to kind of forgive the certain things that they also do, because in the end, I mean, the question that Sarah's really asking is, does the fact that J.K. Rowling feel how she feels about individuals, does that make Harry Potter worse?
So yeah, I agree with that statement. I agree with that question. Sarah, what do you think? In your opinion, so you asked CJ pretty much about your question. What is your answer to that?
I don't know. I'm still struggling with it because there's so much positive in Harry Potter. I mean, Dumbledore, I believe, is a gay character, and he's shown in a positive light. And I think there's a lot of good messages in it. But I'm personally having a really hard time separating the artist from the art. I think in my hypothetical I have kids situation, I would probably let them read Harry Potter either checked out from the library or, buy it used. But I don't think I would ever buy anything new that was Harry Potter. Because just to, I don't want to deprive anyone of the amazing work that she created, but at the same time, I don't want to support her financially or feed into that her means at all. I don't know. I'm still struggling.
I think that.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just think it's a very touchy subject because, again, I don't agree with what you're saying, but I enjoy her book too. And that's kind of where my question is, what, and you guys were saying, how much is too much? At what point Steve verbalized, does the artist's opinions or actions make them a horrible person? Does it devalue the art? What's his name? Art. You remember we talked about, Sarah, you and I, R. Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
He's done these horrible things. I'm well, first of all, I'm not a big R. Kelly fan, but I love Space Jam. But that song is awesome. Fly Like an Eagle. But again, me personally, I don't buy R. Kelly's CDs. The one thing I like about R. Kelly is Space Jam. I already own Space Jam. You know, like yeah, that's messed up what he was doing. I don't like. I'm not condone it, so I've never given him. But like, I'm like, all right, cool. Fly Like an Eagle, Space Jam, Michael Jordan, Bugs Bunny. Um,
I believe I can fly.
yes, I believe we can touch the sky.
I
Yeah,
believe I because
it's way easier for me to boycott R. Kelly because I was never really into his music. But as you said, like Space Jam's a big touch point for that. And then that brings into the question of R. Kelly actually has active legal cases against him. And so anytime someone buys his music, he's able to pay lawyers to silence these women and protect himself from what he's done. But at the same time, how many people worked on Space Jam that deserve royalties and all the other stuff from, you know, that have nothing to do with R. Kelly?
Well, and that's too like is something like the there's another one that we talked about earlier. The dude who played elongated man on the Flash, like he got canceled. He got canceled for tweet from 5 years ago or whatever for making. He had the racist because yeah, that was me back then, and those were jokes, but I don't make them anymore. At a certain point, I'm like, yeah, people make mistakes. People do what they shouldn't do. At a certain point, people grow, right? Like people should be allowed to make mistakes and then be like, okay, you messed up, won't do it again. But if they keep doing it, like J.K. Rowling keeps.
Yeah, she doubled down. She came back and said, no, I'm standing by my hatred of trans people. And I'm just like,
And
no.
it's hard because J.K. Rowling, it's obviously from what I've seen and read and understood from her interviews, she's LGBTQ supportive.
Mm-hmm.
But sans the T. But I'm like I'm not her. I can't understand. I don't see her viewpoints. I'm like, I don't know who you are, you know, but I love your work. You're obviously, I feel that there's more good that she does than bad. I'm not defending her. Please don't cancel me.
I will say this. Like Sarah brought up a good point that I never really thought about before because I posed the question earlier, but I will kind of answer that. I'll get on the other side of that question too, in the sense that I've always been a little bit more cynical of a person. I've always been able to compartmentalize, for lack of a better word. I can separate a person from the art that they create.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I mean? I can say, hey, that's a good Michael Jackson song versus what he may have done in the past. Like, that song's still good. You know what I mean? Like, it's still a damn good song. This movie's still good, or this, you know what I mean? Like, I could still feel that. But the point that she made that I never really thought about is the idea of if this person is still alive, you are supporting their way of life if you are supporting them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so in that instance, you do have to kind of think about that. And I guess that you were kind of bringing up that other point of now, all right, if someone shows that they can grow, that maybe we should treat it one way. But if someone doubles down, you know, maybe it's okay to sort of ostracize these sort of bigots, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I just find it hard trying to find another word for it, but these bigots, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then, what about the other side? When is it too far? Like you were saying in the case of the Hartley Sawyer, I don't know. We don't know. You know, we haven't worked with this guy. I don't know what it's like to work with him. Maybe he's cracking racist jokes every other now and again. But I can say, as a person of color who grew up in America, one of the things I had to learn was that there is a difference between hate and hateful speech and ignorance. And whereas I feel like, you know, a lot of times this cancel culture, we kind of like put these racists, or, you know, that's the label we give them. But we put these racists in a bubble and then we shuffle them off over into quarantine town. You know what I mean? Okay, you go over there so we don't think and look at you or support your thing. Which I think, hey, for racists, that's fine. But for people who are ignorant, I don't think that works so much. You know what I mean? Because not everybody who says something stupid has hate in their heart. And these people could learn a lesson and be much better for it, and not just be much better for it, but like spread that lesson of understanding. And you know what I mean? Like, the only the only the only cure for ignorance is education. And you can't get educated if you're kicked off the island. You know what I mean? Like, so in that respect, I feel like, you know, a lot of people, they have these knee-jerk reactions, and especially with situations like these, like it's a sensitive subject. You know what I mean? It's easy to get offended. You know what I mean? It's easy to take offense, or even offend too. You know what I mean? Like, but you know, I think it's kind of like what we were even saying earlier. You know, it's like, oh well, this person, she doubled down on it, so maybe like it's fine for us to treat her that way. But what about this person who said something stupid 5 years ago? You know what I mean? And like we haven't seen anything since then. You know, I kind of feel like, okay, well, this person maybe isn't like a hateful person. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I don't know what it's like. I don't know what it's like to work with Hartley Sawyer, but like, it's like, did you guys really work with this dude for 5 years and all of a sudden, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just seems weird, but
Yeah, I like what James Gunn did, because he had some, I think they were racist comments.
I think they were pedophile jokes.
Pedophile jokes.
Pedophilic.
Yeah, so he did some awful stuff on Twitter. And when it came to light, he full on stood up and said, I did that and it was wrong, and I take responsibility and I accept consequences for it. And to me, that made a big difference, is him saying he claimed that he did it and then said it was wrong, and was like, what can I do to make it better? Like he didn't like try to hide from the fact that he did it, and he very clearly said it was my fault. Like he claimed fault for it. And then on the flip side of that, I had the opposite reaction when Chris Hardwick, you know, his girlfriend made a claim, I think, that he like Me Too'd her. And
Chloe Dykstra, right?
Yeah,
I remember it because first of all, I'm not a fan of Hardwick, but I did follow that story for a minute, and I remember I listened to his podcast, and there was the times.
Yeah, but I watched him on Talking Dead after that. You know, they let him come back and do Talking Dead, and what he basically said on Talking Dead was,
hi, you know, normally I recap the show we're about to talk about here, but instead, I really just want to take a minute, and I want to say that I am so appreciative to be standing here right now. And I want to thank you, the Walking Dead community, for all of your support these last couple of months. You know, the show is not just a job to me. This is a vital part of my life, you know, and this has been a sanctuary. These last 7 years we've been here. This has been with me through good times and bad times, and I have so much gratitude to you, the fans.
For me, I'm like, I don't know if he did it. I tend to err on the side of believing victims. I think something happened that maybe she wasn't okay with, and he never owned up to it, though. And for me, that's a big part of being able to forgive these people who do these things. So as CJ said, I don't think we can just shove everyone off into their island and be like, we hate you all, like, go pay for your mistakes. But I think people need to take responsibility for them.
I'm not a fan of Hardwick, so I just didn't. I'm like, I just don't like him. But
I stopped watching Talking Dead, and every time he's like a moderator at a con, I'm just like, like, you know, I just feel like he was so insincere. But
there's also, and it's something that also we talked about earlier. So it's like James Gunn owned up to it. And right now, what we have is Josh Whedon. So right now, as of today, September 4th, 2020. There's this issue with the Justice League movie with the guy who plays Cyborg, Ray Fisher, is calling out Josh Whedon and the producers and Jeff Johns. And right now he's been quiet. So I'm like, dude, what's going on with you? I like Buffy. I saw the first season of Buffy. I haven't finished the other ones, but I've heard some stories, and I've heard people who worked with him at Brooks saying, when we were at Brooks, he was like, yeah, he's kind of a dick. But I mean, that's hearsay. I'm not saying that he is. I'm saying that that's what I heard from people who work with him. But
it's very convoluted what's going on. Like, I don't even know who to believe in this. Like, again, I kind of err on the believing victims, because I don't see any benefit to coming out as a victim. You know, a lot of times they're greeted with lots of hate. Mm-hmm. Especially coming out against someone who's as loved as Joss Whedon. So but I think Hollywood has a lot to own up to, by just, I mean, it's still a toxic male culture. I think you're more likely to get a job if you're a white man, and it's still there.
So it's funny you bring this up because I was reading an article. I sent it to CJ. I don't know. I think I sent it to you. I don't know. But it was about Bryan Singer and how he would. Did I send it to you, Sarah? It's about Bryan Singer and how, like, I think the first movie had just come out, was about to come out, and someone was suing him for sexual abuse. The dude was 18 years old, but in this piece, a Hollywood Reporter piece, saying that, like, he was just off of Bryan Singer was just fresh out of Usual Suspects, right? And so they're making this movie, and they're like, he comes into set high, and he's working, and then I guess at one point there was a mishap on set where Hugh Jackman got hurt, like, pretty badly. Like, we need to go to the hospital right now, and everyone threatened to walk because if they didn't do something about it. But they're saying we look the other way because he's an artist too. He's an artist, but Hollywood is this, and I don't remember I'm misquoting it, but it's on Hollywood Reporter. I'll find the clip and show you here. And it was saying that Hollywood rewards, like, greatness and stuff, but, like, we look away when they're doing bad stuff. So at what point does that stop? At what point do they keep going that? Because Bryan Singer is a great, like, I love X-Men. X-Men is, as you know, that movie's what got me into comic books. That movie's what got me into Marvel and DC. Like, Bryan Singer is a great director. I love his movies. But at a certain point, I'm like, at what point, like you said, do we stop looking away and start being like, dude, what the fuck? I'm gonna say, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you letting this happen? Why is this all happening? And it's not just, but I want to point, not to get too, like, heavy-handed or political. But at what point do the producers also come into play and get, we put them at give them responsibility for letting it happen?
Well, I mean, honestly, like, not to try and not sound like a freaking after-school special.
I think we passed that boat. We said that boat a long time ago.
It's all of our responsibilities, René. No, I mean, but seriously though, because it does, like, as we're even having this talk, it's like, just like further illuminating for me, like, this isn't just, we're a movie show, we're a comic book show, so we're talking about it through that guise, but this isn't just a Hollywood problem. You know what I mean? This isn't just a Hollywood thing. This isn't just something that happens. It's broadcasted for a lot of people because of the nature of the business. You know what I mean? But
right.
This is going on everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, this type of behavior, this type of thing is happening everywhere. You know what I mean? And it is like, that sentiment is everywhere. And it's sort of like something that really, society has to change it. You know what I mean? Like, and you know what I mean? So when I say, like, it's all of our responsibility, it is, you know what I mean? The responsibility of the audience to say, like, okay, I don't want to, kind of like what Sarah was alluding to earlier, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of the responsibility of the audience then to look at this and say, like, okay, well, if this person is like this, then I can't support him, you know what I mean? Sort of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we allow it and we keep paying them, then we are allowing this, we are enabling this behavior. You know
we
what
are
I mean?
condoning it. Mm-hmm.
We are saying, as a society collectively, you know what? As long as you make me laugh, it's fine. Let you go and rape that.
As horrible as that sounds, and that is
over there. You know what I mean? But it's like that is what we're saying. Like, unfortunately, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you're so funny, you're so horrible, but here's another $1 million. Here's another $1 million.
That is so horrible. Sarah, what anything you want to add? Anything you thoughts?
Well, the other thing I want to point out is, like, my sister recently read To Kill a Mockingbird to her kids.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a copious amount of use of the N-word in that book. And I think the other thing we need to be aware of is not whitewashing, like, what history is. I think we shouldn't hide things. Like, as awful as it was to see the Nazis marching in with tiki torches in Washington, D.C. a couple years ago, For me, it was like actually kind of a good thing, because we could see that racism was still here,
Mhm.
and we could point at it and say that's it, it's here, like that's wrong. And we can't pretend that it doesn't exist because it's so overt. And I think we, like, it's the other thing is, like, you know, like with To Kill a Mockingbird, there's things that we show our children, like Peter Pan and other things that have clearly racist things in them, and Disney has been putting them up on our Disney Plus with like disclaimers saying like this is a historic thing. And I think it's so important that we maybe not just let our children watch them like or read them without talking to them about it. But I think one of the problems we're having right now, just with everything that's going on with like Black Lives Matter, is that people think that it's gone, like, you know, or that things are okay because we make these little steps. And I think we need to still be aware and talk about these issues because they're still very important.
Something that I when I was growing up, living I was taught by my parents was like, don't ignore like your mistakes, like own up to it. If you're still making up, own up to it. Say, yeah, okay, try to do better. Don't just wash it away, ignore it. It's still there. It's not going to go away unless you work on it. And I feel that as a country, there's a right now at this moment we're trying to do this with both of that, and that's why we have this for lack of a better word, political tension. We can't all be ostriches. Some people refuse to acknowledge that there is still a lot of wrong in this country. Like, I love this country. I was born in this country, but to accept that there is no mistakes, that we have made and we still have mistakes. We still have horrible issues in our system. Is doomed to repeat itself. History was always my favorite class in school. In high school, I got the highest grades in high school within history. But it's something one favorite quote is, those who fail to learn history are doomed to repeat it. Look at where we are right now. Historically, I'm like, we've seen this before in our country 40 years ago. Yeah, I'm like, it's people are refusing to take a look or learn from it. That's all, folks. Anything else?
Well said, everyone. I feel like well said, though.
Any final thoughts before we frack off?
Well, I don't know. I just, you know, hope everyone's staying safe out there, being kind. I the deeper we get into the pandemic, I just want to like yell at people, be kind, like, because I think people are getting a little stir crazy and maybe having, like, you know, anger management problems, and yeah, so be kind.
And it's very hard right now, especially with the economy, especially with people being furloughed and jobs disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
hard to.
I just imagine someone angrily yelling, "Be kind!"
If it works.
I can't make that joke right now. Not the place, not the time to make that joke. Alrighty. Well, thank you for watching us. Thank you for joining us for this very special episode of Frack the Canon. We'll see you same fracking time, same fracking channel. Frack off.